Am I the asshole for telling my poor friend that he's actually the privileged one now? One of my very close friends, Nathan, 29M, and I, 28M, met during our first post-college job at a prestigious finance firm, and we immediately bonded over the long work hours, shitty middle management, and general soul-sucking nature of making PowerPoint slides and Excel sheets all day. For the next few years, a lot of our friendship revolved around us talking about work and how much we hated it. A few years ago, I decided that I just couldn't take the corporate grind anymore, and I quit my job to move into the nonprofit world. While I now certainly make less than I would have at my old job, I'm exponentially happier, healthier, and absolutely love the work that I do. I also still make a very good salary, $80,000 per year, which I feel is more than enough money for me and my needs. Nathan has been ambitiously climbing the corporate ladder, and recently became a VP at his firm. He makes well over $300,000 a year. Nathan grew up in a very poor family, and his relatives are still financially unstable and often ask him for money. I, on the other hand, grew up in a comfortable upper-middle-class suburb with parents who have always been financially stable. They're not millionaires, but if anything ever happened to me, they could, and would, help me until I could get back on my feet. Nathan does not have that privilege. I recently got offered my dream job, where I would be making slightly less money than I am now, $75,000 per year. Despite the money, I am genuinely giddy about this job prospect, and was pumped to tell my friends. However, when I told Nathan, his response was, "I'm glad you have the financial privilege to take a pay cut." Not, "Wow, ancient Mesopotamia. I know you've been really wanting this job for months now and have told me all about how excited you are about it, congratulations," or anything along those lines. I'll admit that I snapped back at him and told him that he makes triple the amount of money I do, and that at some point he needs to realize he's now got privileges of his own instead of pointing out mine. The conversation got a bit heated, and we agreed to hang up and cool off before talking it over later. Now I'm wondering if I should apologize to Nathan for what I said, or if I should stand my ground. I'm feeling angry and a bit defensive, which I realize is exactly the reaction that a spoiled rich kid would have. However, I also do think it was a bit mean of him to say that at that exact moment when I was so excited. And while generational wealth does give privileges that income alone does not, he literally does make over triple the amount of money that I now make, so it seems a tiny bit hypocritical for him to be calling me privileged. Also, as a final note, while my parents certainly are well off, they do not support me financially in any way, and have not since I graduated from college 7 years ago. So, I leave the judgment to you all. Am I the asshole? And #X200B. And #X200B. And #X200B. And #X200B. Edit. Whoa. This really blew up in a way I wasn't expecting. I've spent hours reading as many comments as I can, and I thank each of you for your perspectives. I have really learned a lot about privilege and what it's like to grow up poor from some of your stories. While it is nice of many of you to say that I'm not the asshole, I do think I approached Nathan's situation with a lot of ignorance and potential assholery. You, _joke_9617 said it best. I don't think it matters who's more right here. What matters is whether Nathan has been a good friend and one that's worth keeping. If the answer is yes, a heart-to-heart talk should sort this out. Genuine adult friendships are hard to come by. Don't let a misunderstanding ruin it. Nathan's been my buddy for years, through thick and thin, and so I called him back up to apologize. I mentioned that I really didn't know what his experience had been like, and that I was so proud of him for all he's accomplished, and that I just felt a little hurt and unsupported when he called out my privilege from the get-go instead of being happy for me. It felt like he was minimizing my success, but it turns out he's just been having a tough time at work and didn't respond in the best way to my job news. He apologized too, and we had a really nice conversation. I think that since we started our careers at the same place and time that it's easy for us to compare ourselves, and we're both guilty of the competitive comparison game with each other. Anyway, it's all good now, and I think we've opened up a good dialogue where I can learn more about my buddy's past and what it's been like for him, and try and support him with some of the mental struggles of coming from poverty. Listen to you, _joke_9617, and have heart-to-hearts with your friends and learn from your mistakes. Also, Nathan and I will be going to a baseball game next week, and he offered to buy the tickets because he's loaded, and I'm a non-profit schlub. Both his words, both said with love. Not the asshole. What kind of friend says that when their friends tells them they got their dream job? Not the asshole. What he said was pretty rude and spiteful. He's making $300K. He's doing extremely well for himself. If he's giving it all to his poor family, that's his choice and problem, not yours. Not the asshole. He doesn't sound like your friend. He sounds like he just wants you there to take his abuse. Not the asshole, but he may not have meant it that way. Plus, it was just one comment. You probably didn't need to start an argument just because he didn't give you the exact response you wanted. Not the asshole. If he's a true friend, he'd be happy for you. Am I the asshole for refusing to attend a lecture from my in-laws? Throwaway account. My 36M husband and I, 34F, were gifted a trip last Christmas by my in-laws. We are the only non-retired or non-teachers in the family, so our ability to take 2-week vacations is a no-go. In-laws decided to book the trip the week before our anniversary and included Father's Day as they anticipated us all driving and caravanning together. We decided to fly instead. That choice displeased them as they needed to help transport some of our things since we have 2 children, 3.5M and 1F. Leading up to the trip, husband and I became concerned with using an entire week of vacation, of which we do not have much, to spend a week in Florida watching kids 24/7. We asked to bring our nanny. Yes, we are privileged and we acknowledge that. We offered to pay for her flights, food, and money for either a larger place to stay in our own place, or money to supplement the fact she would be there. We were told no 4 times. No matter what accommodations or compromises we tried to make, we were told no. Family only. Even though for us our nanny is family. We asked for a sit-down meeting to discuss some of our concerns prior to the trip. At meeting, we were told we were manifesting problems that did not exist and we were going to make them happen. We were told they planned on taking the kids every second of the day if we wanted, and it would be totally relaxing for us, and nanny isn't family and not allowed to go. The trip went exactly as expected. We were up at 6 and each one of us had 1 kid pretty much the whole day. My in-laws mainly took our niece, 1F, or Mill was relaxing at the beach. It was beautiful to see our kids happy, but it was not relaxing. My son asked why my Mill always had the baby, niece, and where was nanny. My husband said we were going to hire a babysitter while there, and his parents demanded a conversation outside. When pictures didn't go as planned because they insisted on a time after my daughter's bedtime, so she flipped out, that was also our fault. 1 week before his birthday, they demanded we go to their house on Sunday afternoon to talk. Refused to tell us why. My husband tried to get an answer which led to him asking if it was a lecture. The response was yes, because we were acting as teenagers. My husband said he was too stressed, house damage, issues at work, having 2 toddlers, and not interested in being treated as a child. Phil insisted on scheduling the convo anyway. Husband hung up and did tell them to fuck off if that's how they were going to act. Since then, my Mill is posting non-stop about us being narcissists and thinking life is all about us. They didn't wish him a happy birthday. He asked for a break if this was how they were going to treat him, but he didn't ask to be treated like he didn't exist. So are they the assholes? Are we the narcissists? Edit 2. Okay, so we all agree. We are definitely asshole for not fighting or canceling when our adopted daughter wasn't explicitly invited. I have called her, apologized, and asked for forgiveness. But the question is, are we also asshole and narcissists because we wouldn't go sit down for a lecture about what happened on the trip? Because we feel kinda crazy like it's all us, with Mill calling us narcissists on Facebook. Edit 1. Trip meant we could not book a vacation to celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary. I do sound a bit harsh about my kids. We just wanted a few days to be able to celebrate our anniversary and willing to hire help for it. Vacation day issue. Our adopted daughter was not invited as she's also not considered family. Our adopted child is 24 with a house and a boyfriend and a job. She did not want to go. She did not want us to fight to get her invited. We did mention it. And it also did not go well. Also, we started raising her at 16. We adopted her at 18 when she wanted to go to college. We were going to pay, but for scholarships she needed to complete FAFSA. Her bio mom wouldn't share her income info, so we sought out legal advice. It was to adult adopt her so she could use our information. We felt like she was our daughter, so we did it without question. It also allows her to be on our health insurance. Either way, we should have immediately agreed not to go if she wasn't invited. That is super wrong of us. I own that. Even if my niece, daughter says it didn't hurt her feelings. I imagine it did. And that's so wrong of us. I feel like a $H1T for not adding it sooner, but it's just always been how they have treated her. Mill didn't want us to raise her or adopt her. She needed us to fight for her and we didn't. Shame on us. Not the asshole. I'd have paid for my own accommodations and brought the nanny. They can't control who you bring on vacay. His parents demanding to schedule a time to get lectured by them for your behavior is so funny. These people are too much. Wait. Your adopted daughter wasn't invited either? To fuck? Not the asshole. Just don't take vacations with them in the future. Not the asshole. Your Mill and Phil can pound sand. You told them every reason why this vacation wouldn't work for you and they chose to ignore you. If anything, they are the narcissists. They don't get to be upset and lecture you because you were right. Not the asshole. You should plan your own vacations the way you want. Would I be the asshole if I told my parents I don't want to go back to living with them? 7 years ago my F-17 parents decided to go on a world trip. Because I was too young to join them, they arranged for me to live with their best friends who they've known since elementary school and they were giving temporary guardianship of me. These friends, let's call them Pete and May, own and live on a horse ranch in Montana, so for me, having lived in Chicago until then, it was a huge change. I was, of course, really angry, depressed and sad at first because I felt like my parents abandoned me. Pete and May really helped a lot in coming to terms with those feelings. They've always treated me like their own daughter and taught me so much. I learned how to ride horses and how to take care of them. I help out on the ranch regularly, while attending school virtually. We go horse riding in the open country and in the mountains every weekend with the three of us. They even gifted me my own horse to care for, and I love her so much. Honestly, this kind of life just sits so well with me. I am genuinely enjoying every second of my life. I do have semi-regular contact with my parents, like once every few weeks. Sometimes a video call, voice call, sometimes just an email, postcards, etc. But after the initial period of feeling abandoned, I don't think I ever really missed them. Now my parents have sent me a message saying they're done with their travels and are coming to pick me up so we can live together again, how much they missed me and can't wait to see me again. Which I think is really unfair because if they really missed me they wouldn't have gone off traveling for 7 years. And I just don't want to. After living so close to nature for so long, really getting into this lifestyle and spending so much time around the horses, I don't think I can go back to living in the city. I don't want to abandon my horse either, and honestly Pete and May feel more like my parents than my real parents at this point. Would I be the asshole if I told my parents that I don't really miss them and don't want to return to live with them and just want to stay where I am? And #X200B. Update. I didn't expect this to get so many responses. I'm going to try and answer some questions that a lot of people have. Though honestly I don't really know a lot of things either. I had a conversation with Pete and May, but they didn't really seem clear on many details either. First off, and probably the most important one, I asked them if they'd allow me to stay, and they told me they consider me their daughter so I can stay as long as I want, they'd love to have me around. So at least regardless of what happens, I at least will have a place to call home. Secondly, a lot of people mentioned that maybe my parents are on the run from the law or something else. I never even thought about that possibility. I guess it could be true, but I don't really know how to find out. Though it's a bit of a scary thought. Thirdly, when Pete and May agreed to take me in, my parents apparently just said they'd go out of the country for a little while. Pete and May took me in under the condition that my parents would visit often, and they agreed, but we know how that went. Pete and May would often call my parents telling them to come visit because I needed my parents, but they never came. Pete and May eventually realized, after like 1 year, that there'd be a reasonable chance that my parents would not come back, despite the semi-regular contact they had with me. So they would raise me the best they could themselves. Asking about how my parents were when they were younger, apparently my parents have always been a bit strange. Very little sense of responsibility, never taking things seriously, always getting in trouble. Guess they didn't really grow out of that phase. This coming weekend I'm going to sit down with Pete to write a proper response to my parents because I don't think I'd be able to write a message without getting emotional. Hopefully once my parents read it things will go like I want them to go, because the more I read the replies here, the more unsure I am about what kind of people my parents actually are. Not the asshole, sorry but they abandoned you. Once you decide to have children, it is for life. You can't take a break from it, for 7 years. And now they can't force you to separate from your actual parents, the people who raised you. Ask Peter and May if they would be okay keeping you and go see a lawyer ASAP. What is this? It doesn't make sense. They left you at 10 years old for 7 years to go travel? Come back when you're basically grown and almost at the age where you leave home anyway or go off to college and they what? Want to live with you again for 1 year? Is this fake? Not the asshole. Have a sit down with Pete and Mary and ask them if it is okay if you continue to live with them, and if they agree then tell your parents that you like the life and lifestyle that you have on the ranch and therefore you have decided like they did when they went on their world trip that you are going to stay put. Not the asshole. I was, of course, really angry, depressed and sad at first because I felt like my parents abandoned me. They did. Stay with your new family. Not the asshole, not at all. I'm very sorry to say it. 7 years was nearly half your childhood. Your parents raised you halfway and decided to abandon you for their own pleasures. How dare they try to waltz back in after this? As long as it's okay with Pete and May, you should stay with them if they make you happy. Am I the asshole for basically ruining my family's relationship with our extended family? I, 24 female, have been traveling abroad for about 4 months now. During this time I am staying with my extended family and we've been getting along really well. My cousin, F36, has been preparing to get married for about 8 months. In the country I am in, the customs of marriage and dating culture are different from North America, where I'm from. During my stay I have been helping her pick out wedding dresses for photo shoots, attending photo shoots with her, as well as make the bouquets she will be using during those photo shoots. Now here is the current situation. After we finished with the photo shoot, which was about 6 hours long, we all went out to go eat and drink together. While some of the people we went with went out to smoke, my cousin's fiancé, M36, commented on how my cousin used to date people that smoked, and I remarked that it wasn't that big of a deal because she used to smoke herself. This one comment blew up more than I could possibly imagine. Apparently my cousin's fiancé did not know my cousin used to smoke and hates smokers as well. I then got an angry phone call from my aunt telling me that I may have just ruined their wedding and it's my fault if anything were to happen. My cousins was furious and refused to talk to me, so I was unable to apologize for a while. But when I did try to apologize, she said she had no interest in anything I had to say, and told me she would do her best so she wouldn't have to come home until I leave. I leave in a week. We were also planning to go on a trip to another nearby city together as a family, but she told me it's best if I don't go. Everyone here is upset at me because I divulged the fact that my cousin used to smoke, but no one seems to understand that I didn't know it was a secret in the first place. To make matters worse, my own sister, F36, who is back in my home country, changed her Instagram profile to say something that insinuated a threat, basically saying that she will return whatever our family gets tenfold. Whether that be treated good or bad. My aunt and my cousin both saw this and became even more infuriated, and now my cousin has forced her brother, my other cousin, M30, and her fiancé to block me on all social media platforms. I think it's important to mention that I probably became the closest with my male cousin over my trip, and now feel as though I have no family left to rely on. He also told me that he doesn't think he can drive me to the airport anymore, which is 2 hours away, in fear that it'll make the situation worse and his sister may become angry with him. I understand that the people involved cannot really do anything about this situation and it keeps getting worse. This situation has now spread to where my aunt and my dad are going to probably have a very serious phone call, and depending on the conversation we may go no contact with each other. I know that realistically I may not be the asshole, but I sure as hell feel like it. Edit. Just for more information, my cousin's fiancé does not seem to be leaving her over this, and he understands that on my part it was an honest mistake. He is probably the most bothered that my cousin hid that she used to be a smoker, but for now the marriage seems to be safe. Not the asshole. How were you supposed to know? Not to mention, if the fiancé is calling off the wedding over your cousin being a former smoker, you prob did her a favor. Way too much drama over nothing. Not the asshole. But wow. Like, how were you supposed to know? You just literally stepped into a minefield. This is ridiculous. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I once mentioned to my new sister-in-law that I hoped the third time was a charm. She had no idea my brother had been married twice before. I couldn't possibly have known he would have withheld that kind of information, and neither could you.